Awesome. Appreciate everybody being here. Bless you. Appreciate everybody being here. Just got done with our Tuesday practice, so one thing that's a little bit unique with these Tuesday press conferences is you're so far ahead on the next opponent. But recap last week, seems like it was forever ago, but recap the Boise game. You know, really proud of the defense. First, for really controlling the game from the beginning to the end, and giving the offense a chance, as it was kind of tough sledding there at the beginning of the game, specifically in the first quarter, kind of getting a feel for things. I said it after the game, but I take the blame a little bit for what we look like. I take the blame a lot of it for what we look like early, just trying to get guys settled in. Obviously a ton of new guys, and get guys settled in a little bit. I thought we opened it up as we went, and that opening it up opened the run game and created some explosives. So the gist of that game was the defense created 3 extra drives, 4 stops on 4th down, which created 4 more drives, with field position being a huge factor on those 4th down stops. And that was essentially the story of the game. 12 drives offensively. The fake punt was obviously a huge momentum boost and a huge play at a time where it was going either way. 10-7 ball game, kind of stuck a little bit. It felt like, man, whoever was going to have the ball last at that point was going to win the game. The thing I'm really proud of with our guys is we talked the entire week about it being a fourth quarter game. I know I mentioned it last week going into the game that these guys have notoriously been a fourth quarter team and have found ways to win ball games in the fourth. And I told the guys Wednesday night before the game, I said, we're going to be up in the fourth. And obviously I was full of it when I said it in terms of just kind of guessing, but we're going to be up in the fourth, and it's going to be a matter of us playing harder than them in the fourth quarter. And ironically enough, we came up for the fourth quarter break, and we were up in the fourth, and we played harder than them in the fourth quarter. And that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, regardless of the plays and turnovers and explosives and like all of that. We played harder in the fourth quarter. And that for us was a challenge to be able to go play a game start to finish in a tight ball game against a good football team. Friday we moved on. We used Friday and Saturday as essentially a normal Sunday, Monday for us as coaches to try to get ahead as much as we possibly could, waiting on Florida to play their week 1. So from a personnel standpoint, you knew schematically, you had a really good feel off of you had a year's worth of film, you had certainly 6 games worth of the new quarterback, and so we were able to get ahead on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we got the Long Island film and moved on. You look at a team in Florida that's, if you could sum it up, a team that's got a ton of momentum, a team that runs extremely well on both sides of the ball. It looks like culturally right, in sync offensively, certainly in sync defensively, have speed, length, that you would expect a team to have. Offensively, a veteran group, returned 4 guys, the left tackles, another level special. You look at the receiver group, there's speed and skill all over the place. They had a couple of guys banged up, and still speed and length, just different kind of speed that you look for. But it's a young group that can run. The running back is a really good player. You got to see a bunch of them a year ago, and got to see a bunch of them on Saturday. And obviously all goes through the quarterback. VJ is certainly a generational talent, both arm talent, physically, ability to create with his feet, frame is really big. The most impressive thing about him is the composure, the off-schedule throws on that tape. I mean, he makes things happen when pockets collapse, makes things happen on the run. They do a really good job moving him out of the pocket to create some vertical shots. But high end arm, high end with his feet. and physically just a big frame and you could tell there's a calming presence about him. When you watch a quarterback, you can see when a young man doesn't get rattled, and especially at 18 years old, he's special and should be for a really long time. He plays it the right way, poised, controlled, and creates so much with both his arm and his legs. So really impressive defensively. You look at it, they graduated a bunch, a couple guys left, and they still have 5 or 6 starters coming back. A front that's really long on the edges. Those guys create havoc from a pass rush standpoint, create havoc in the run game. Really big inside, bigger than certainly we're used to. Those linebackers, man, you watch the Long Island film. I mean, they're young and they run and they hit, they play the right way. In the secondary, graduate a couple guys at corner, but man, length, physicality, and I think from a play calling standpoint, do exactly what fits that unit. You could tell they've recruited to a system. The system's really good. They do a good job of not giving up a ton of explosives. You got to create your own. Certainly tough to run the football. They do a good job in the back end, create tough windows to be able to throw the football, and then they pick and choose when they pressure you. And they do a really good job pressuring you and then dropping bodies out. So it'll be a really, really good challenge for us. That defense, top 20 in the country a year ago in red zone defense. Again, length and speed helps. Top 20 in the country in sacks, top 20 in the country in takeaways. All explosives that create extra possessions and stops for them and eliminate points. Again, a team I think that played really, really well at the end of the year. A team that kind of came together at the end of the year, and a lot of similar offenses to us in that league and on that film that you can watch and get a really good feel for how they feel like they can attack you. So a lot of respect for the staff, for what they've built and what they're doing. The special teams game, the kicker special, the punter special, the returner is holy smoke special. I got to see him right here on this field in 7-on-7 a year ago, and told him if it ever doesn't work out, man, find a home for him. But went out as a freshman and created explosives in the return game in week 1. Really, really special. So it'll be a huge challenge for us. Obviously, some factors. The weather will be a factor. It'll be hot. It'll be humid. And obviously got to prepare for rain. They say this time of year in Florida it might rain around 4 o'clock. Haven't seen it, but that's what they say. It'll be hot. Crowd noise will be a factor. So a lot of things to prepare for. Our guys are really, really confident. Our guys are really, really excited. Just got done, like I said, with a Tuesday practice. It's a huge game for us because it's the next game. It's a huge game for us because it's an in-state team. It's a huge game for us. Another opportunity on national TV to go showcase what we built, where we're going, and it'll be an exciting Saturday evening. So I'll open it up to questions.
You're playing a team, not a stadium, but the Swamp is a unique place. You have some history there. How much is the environment part of the preparation, or getting guys ready for what you're going to face on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a huge part of the preparation. You can't make it solely about that, but the crowd noise is real. Like you said, I've been there. There's a chunk of our team that's been there. Majority of our staff has been there, so it's a factor. It'll certainly affect how you operate, specifically offensively, and our job as coaches is to prepare our guys to not allow it to be a factor, but that's part of home field advantage, and we've got to make sure that we find a way that it isn't a factor in how we play.
You feel like this team has the maturity level and the experience where they can put such an emotional opening night win behind them and move forward?
Well, Joey, it's part of growing. It's part of building, right? And I said it a week ago, it's part of handling success. Winning programs are able to do that because winning programs are used to winning. I think in a winning program, you truly, literally forget about it the next day and you move on. We've coached the heck out of it. We've we've pushed the heck out of it. I do think it helped to have a couple extra days because you truly were able to clean it up on Friday and move on Saturday. I think anytime you've got an opponent like we've got here, man, if you're looking behind in any way, you're out of your mind. And truly, I think these guys are mature enough, to answer your question, are mature enough to understand that one, it's a long season, but two, all you gotta do is look up and see, man, like if you're gonna take a breath and enjoy anything that happened a week ago, you're gonna get your brains beat in. And so it helps that you're playing a really good opponent again, in terms of that. But I do think we're mature. We're certainly an older football team with a bunch of young guys that are playing ball. But when you have an older football team and you trust your older guys, that you can say, man, like, just do what those guys are doing. And that's the coolest thing about building a program is as you continue to build and have success, you can point to successful things, and this is how you handled it. But it's certainly easier to teach off of success. But I think when you fail, those are your biggest growing moments as well. So we're still, I said it after the game, we're still in infancy stages of building a program and laying a foundation, and this happens to be part of our growing process.
What are your overall observations of your running game? I mean, Isaac had a 49-yarder, Byron did stuff that seemed like weren't moving the chains like you normally want to. What do you think about what you saw and what needs to get better?
Yeah, I think a culmination of a lot early in that game. One, they were going to create a tough box to run the football in. You were going to have to be creative in how you ran it, and I think it took us a minute to really truly understand that there's going to be extra bodies in this box. We tried to force some things early, and then the way they were playing us, you knew you had to run the quarterback some because there was always going to be an extra hat there. And they did a good job of doing some different things to where they were going to take away the stuff on the perimeter, the quick, easy stuff on the perimeter, and they were going to make you throw the ball down the field. And again, like I said, I think I take the blame as being a little bit hard-headed in the sense of we were going to stick to trying to move the chains, run the football, get Byron really settled in before we started chucking it all over the place. And then part of that was you got Byron running a little bit, which helped kind of get the run game going. As you started throwing the ball vertically, it opened up some run lanes, and that's what helped us run the ball. I would tell you probably more than anything, it was me adjusting. It took me probably till halftime to truly say, screw this, we got to change the run game plan a little bit. And the offensive staff did a phenomenal job of saying, man, we're going to go to a little bit more outside zone and run by him a little bit more, and it opened it up for us.
Do you think beating Boise has given this team more confidence going into the Florida game, or do you think their confidence level would have been way high just because they're playing Florida?
Sure. I would tell you this. For us, I go back to when you can build a process-driven culture, the end result is truly a byproduct of your process. So if you're relying on a win or a loss or an end result for confidence, you're going to be up and down as a program. You're going to be up and down as a human. We go right back to what our process is. And I challenge the guys that if you felt like your process was elite last week, really 2 weeks, 3 weeks leading up to that, then repeat your process, because the end result was a byproduct of your process. If the result wasn't what you felt like you wanted, and that's how you felt, how you played, how you ran, how you hit, how you blocked, how you tackled, all of it, your focus going into the game, then you got to adjust and change your process. And so I think obviously it gives you a good feeling going in, but I think also winning sometimes hides deficiencies and hides your ability to learn and grow if that's what you're counting on. That's why I truly believe that Friday morning we attacked the heck out of that film, and then we went right back to our process. What does a Sunday look like, a Monday look like, a Tuesday look like, a Wednesday? And I think if you're a process-driven team that's led internally, then it doesn't really matter.
Is the biggest thing you're looking for now to how you follow up, how you build on this, how you follow the process? Will that be the biggest indication of the maturity of this team, how you react to all that and play in this game?
I think the biggest indication of our team is how we came out, practiced yesterday, today, what it'll look like tomorrow. I can tell you, yesterday, today, it's a focus group. It's a energetic and excited group. It was a physical game, so guys felt it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It helped to have a couple extra days in that way. And according to the film, it's going to be another physical game. So I think us practicing the right way, us being physically and mentally right going into Saturday, will be the best indication of how ready we are. But I don't know that we're going to look at the result of this and say, man, this is where we are as a program.
When you really study the tape, why was the defense able to control things from start to finish? What did your defense do especially well?
Yeah, I think really simple, Joey. We played harder for longer. You look at even the turnovers, there was bodies around that football when the ball came out. And all three of them. You know, we talked, I said it last week, most turnovers are created because guys are running to the football, whether it's a tip ball and there's bodies around it, or a fumble that you have the ability to scoop up. Turnovers defensively happen when guys are running to the football. And we ran to the ball. We were really physical up front. We were really physical at linebacker. And I thought when balls were completed at the third level, we were violent getting to the football from the back end standpoint. So I think between the physicality and the effort, whatever deficiencies we have got covered up. That's the greatest thing about defensive football, is you can cover up some deficiencies by running to the ball, attacking when balls are thrown or handed off, and you get 11 hats to the football, you can cover a lot of deficiencies up. And I do think, obviously, we've gotten better. We've physically gotten better, we've looked better, and we certainly ran well. I thought our plan from Gio and his staff to get our guys prepared in terms of from being in shape, feeling really fast, I thought it looked that way on film.
You alluded to this before, but winning programs have to stay on an even keel. They play the game, whatever the result, they move to the next game. How do you think this team compares in that regard to your first 2 years?
How does this team compare to my first year here in terms of what? In terms of, what do you mean by how do they compare? I guess I'm not sure of the question.
I think you meant that.
From moving on from, the high of winning that game to focusing on the next one.
Yeah, I think I go back to, if you're process driven, the end result of that game really doesn't matter. That's where I think our biggest growth is right now, is that guys understand that what happened last week doesn't really matter in terms of our prep going into this one.
Alex, Coach Kramer, I know he graduated a couple of years after you at Ohio State. You could talk about the relationship that you guys built, which I assume the seeds were planted at that time. And then, of course, he joined you at Tennessee, and he's been on your staff now. And if you could talk about just knowing him and building that relationship with him.
Yeah, Chad and I went to school together. I met him. He was an intern in the weight room when we were in school, and then got into on the football side, and we became friends then. We actually worked together. I was a recruiting coordinator at Illinois. He was a GA for us in recruiting at Illinois, and then fast forward however many years, and we got to Tennessee, and obviously knew him, knew our defensive coordinator who was at Illinois with us. So he came on staff there, and then the night I took the job here, he drove here. Didn't wait for the plane to go back, pick him up, just drove here. So Chad's one, a really good friend, two, an incredible man, incredible husband, father, just an incredible example to the young guys in our program, fellow girl dad as well. Really, really sharp. Coaches the outside backers, adds so much defensively for us, recruits at a high level, and then the special team side takes so much pride between him. Tyler Majewski does an incredible job for us as well. He's our assistant special teams coordinator, runs half the units, is in my ear, in Chad's ear on game day, does a great job with the specialists. So that combination obviously we've been really good on teams here. We've got really good specialists. We take a lot of pride in it. We spend a lot of time in it. But in terms of my relationship with Chad's beyond being a really good friend, just a great human being and a phenomenal football coach. So really lucky to have him. He's had opportunities to go be a defensive coordinator and has chosen to stay here and help us plant roots here and help us continue to lay the foundation here.
When it comes to Byron, obviously he had a great night running the ball. I mean, a 232-pound, whatever he is, guy out there, at times initiating contact, leveling people. Is there any part of you that cringes a bit when he's out there in harm's way, or that's part of the game and part of the package and what the chips for where they may?
I think it's part of his game. I'm not sure why it's such a hot topic what he weighs. Nobody's ever asked me what I weigh. Certainly no one would ask you what you weigh. But he put the shoulder down the first time. He put the shoulder down again the second time, and that was when I said we're good. And so you saw he slid in the fourth quarter, and he kind of looked over and smiled. Enough with the shoulder, especially your right shoulder.
So a little discretion that's needed at times.
Yeah, I think for Byron, and I mean this wholeheartedly, all joking aside, I think he truly wanted to set his pads and feel like all right, I'm back. I feel good. I feel like myself. I think Byron now, this older version of Byron now understands so much of what's going on around him that he could tell, man, it wasn't going real great. Energy was good and guys were locked in. We weren't doing anything crazy. The two holding calls, I could have, I'll leave it there. Were obviously both killed drives. But in terms of how we were playing, we were intentional. We had good energy, just weren't executing. And I think he is so aware of what's going on. So he's played a ton of football, but so aware of what's going on. He's like, man, we need some juice here. We got to crank this up. So therefore, then he went and found somebody he could put a shoulder on. So
I guess his size is he just glides and watches this hole, and nobody can bring him down. I mean,
it's a physical presence, but he trains that way, practices that way. He eats right, sleeps right, hydrates, takes care of his body. He's in here. We compete every morning for who's going to be in here first, and then if he ever leaves before me, I make sure I send him a picture of his empty parking spot. So he's uber competitive. I think that's, I think at the end of the day, that's what makes Byron really special is he doesn't like to lose. He doesn't like to lose at anything. Uber competitive, highly intelligent, and a phenomenal athlete. That's a good combination to have, especially for a quarterback.
I know you've been selective about the guys you bring in from the portal. You emphasize that. But it seems that teams that depend on transfers have a limited amount of success. We saw that deal with North Carolina, 70 new players. They didn't play very well. Ole Miss changes its team every year. They've never won anything. It seems like the really good teams, the Ohio States, Clemson's, Georgia's, they bring in a few, but not much. Do you think you could ever get to a point with this program where you'll be able to develop most of your own talent, or do you think because of the system, you're just gonna have to keep bringing in transfers?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I can't comment on those other teams. I know this, our team, early on in our time here, we were so deficient. Obviously, when we walked in, there were so many guys that already were gone. Tried to save some, couldn't save some, but guys were gone. And you had to plug holes, and you had to do it really fast because, and I've said this before, in year one, we knew we had to lay a foundation, but we also knew we had to have some sort of proof of concept that, hey, this is what we're gonna look like offensively, defensively, special teams, and you wanted to go be competitive in year one. So I think when we took guys that first year, I don't wanna say we weren't selective, but we were certainly way less selective because you knew you had to get truly bodies in. Some of those guys turned out to be really good players. Some of them turned out to be some of our best leaders. I think going into year two, you felt like, all right, there's a cultural foundation. We certainly didn't have it flipped, but there's a cultural foundation for how we operate. We were a little bit more selective. I think going into this past year, we really felt like we knew the roster. We knew the young guys that we had, and it gave us a year and then 2 years to recruit 2 freshman classes. I still stick to what I came in here and truly believe that in Tampa, at the University of South Florida, with the resources we have, the facilities we have, and the way we work at recruiting, which is relentless. Like we work about as hard at recruiting as you could ever imagine, that we should be able to get high-end high school talent here. Geographically where we are between Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Louisiana, you should be able to fill a class with high-end high school talent. If those high school guys are ready to roll, then there's no reason to bring in somebody else. If the high school guy's not ready to roll, just needs to develop, which naturally at most positions you need to develop, then we feel like we've got to bring in somebody older, experienced, and older doesn't mean better, transfer doesn't mean better. Reps in real games against real competition means better. And so that's where we've been really selective. And if you look at who we've taken in the portal, about 90% of the guys are from our footprint. They're Florida, Georgia kids that are somewhere that want to come back. And I think we've learned as we've gone, I've learned as I've gone, that transfer doesn't make you better, but a really good transfer makes you better, especially when it's production and a culture fit. They certainly can make you better. And so I know it's a long-winded answer to your question, but I think as we've gone here, we now have 2 full recruiting classes. So those guys are either freshmen, redshirt freshmen, or sophomores. Those guys are still young. We have another big-time high school class that's committed. We got to go finish on that class. So then we're going to have 3 of those classes. Well, that means that the oldest guy in that class would be a junior. So you're still going to feel like, all right, we're still relatively young. And so as we continue to recruit really good high school talent, we're going to continue to plug holes that we feel like maybe these guys that we recruited just aren't ready yet, until you get to a point where you hope you don't have to take a bunch. I will say this though, again, where we are geographically, we're always going to leave some spots because there are a lot of guys that we recruit that we don't get. And so build relationships, real authentic relationships, and we lose a kid. And we don't lose kids to teams in our league. We don't lose kids to teams outside of our league that we should compete with. But ultimately, you're going to lose some kids to some programs, and in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is that makes them want to come back, there's a real relationship based on years of recruiting them, that if they fit what we need, then we'd love to take them. But that's what I'm talking about, year 4, year 5 of the program. So I think just this day and age and this climate that we're in, you're inevitably always going to have the ability to take kids. On the complete flip side of that, my number 1 priority is retention of our kids. And I've said that before, but beyond recruiting is the retention. And the way you retain kids is not this old adage of you got to recruit your own kids. The way you retain kids is by doing what you said on the front end and being really honest, being really real, coaching the heck out of them, but pouring into these guys' lives as young men and help them become really good men, build them for their future in careers, build them for their future as fathers, as husbands. Do what you said you were going to do on the front end, and that piece is the biggest piece of retention, and we spend probably as much time on that as anything else.
As you said, this is a big game because it's the next game, and that's always the way you approach it. From a fan standpoint, with people in an office surrounded by Gator alums, you know, USF going to Gainesville, the chance for success, it's extremely meaningful. You got players on this team that know a lot of guys on that team. Could you speak about the importance of maybe the fans and the players, just how this is, it's obviously a hugely important game, but just the geography of it making it even higher?
Yeah, it's a huge game. Ton of Florida fans, ton of South Florida fans. I've got 5 former Florida fans that coach my little guys' baseball team that are in USF gear, decked out by Jeremy Lees himself, that are going up there. So I got 5 plus my 3. There's 8. I don't know how many seats, but we got 8. It's a start, and you're going to be there wearing that logo, so it's
you
not.
gotta go slowly, right? Converting.
I
people.
think it's awesome. It's part of playing big time college football is these in-state matchups, certainly rivalries, certainly the fact that it's going to be bragging rights, and at least looking at the schedule right now for quite a while. So we need as many USF fans there as we can get, and be loud as you possibly can be, and then if the result is what we want it to be, then they'll be in the office splattering green and gold and black all over the place. So
With,
it'll be awesome.
with the young players you have, and this is kind of a different experience for them, how important, even if they don't play a down, is it for those young people to go there and experience an atmosphere like the Swamp?
Yeah, I think probably overdone in a lot of ways. It's the next one. These guys have been recruited at that level, been in environments, and I'm not drowning out what it is. It's a cool football environment. It's one of the cooler football environments in the entire country. That's part of playing major college football. I think playing at Ray J last week was an incredible environment. I thought that was really cool. I think if you make it about that rather than the game, I'm probably overlooking some important factors, but I think it's a really cool environment. I think it's certainly awesome to be able to go play in it. I think it's even cooler to be able to go win it.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Coach.